would like to read just a brief bio of Antonio Mateo Bruni, whom I did not have the pleasure of knowing because he died in 1931. And so I was not born until 1944, contrary to what you might think. Oh gosh. Okay. Antonio Mateo Bruni, entrepreneur, rancher, we know that part. The son of Mateo and Dominica, Bruni was born September 19, 1856. So he saw a lot of things in the United States. Emilio Romana, Italy, was his birthplace. Parents died when he was a young boy. In 1872, he moved to San Antonio to live with his uncle, Antonio Bruni. 5 years later, he moved to Laredo and opened a mercantile store with his brother, Luigi. I love the names. They're great. The two also had a store in Laredo. His mercantile business took him to Webb County and Zapata counties, where he acquired an interest in the sheep and cattle industry. I thought that was so interesting because a lot of people around here don't like sheep because of the cattle, right? But I think he was a genius to be able to integrate them. In 1882, Bruni was appointed tax collector of Webb County, and in 1892 was elected a county commissioner. He was appointed county treasurer 4 years later and led this position until his death. Among other businesses activities, he was vice president of the First National Bank of Laredo, director of the Texas Mexican Railway, and director of the Border Gas Company. He owned land in Webb and Zapata counties. He established a town on one of his ranches and named it Bruni. Bruni married Consolacion Henry in 1879, and the couple had 9 children. We need him now, right, for enrollment. It's perfect. Consolacion was a descendant of Jose de Urrutia, which is interesting, and you all may know this, Mercurio or Joe, or perhaps Mr. Brown. The Urrutia family in San Antonio was very prominent. I think they were doctors. I went to school with one of their daughters. They were devout Catholics, prominent local philanthropists, and that hasn't changed, has it? And staunch supporters of the Democratic Party. Bruni died August the 18th of 1931. When he died, his ranch holdings came to over 200,000 acres. Bruni Park in Laredo is named for him. So we have a lot of history. As you know, we have a lot of history here at the college anyway, because of Fort Mac. But it's always a pleasure and an honor to welcome a collection like this to our grounds, because it's integral to Laredo that our young people not forget our history. Well, many reasons, but one is that it repeats itself, and 2 is that it's important to know. So without further ado, I would like to call Sister Rosemary Welch for the invocation.
First of all, it's an honor to be here today, and thank you very much for the invitation. Creator God, we gather today to remember and honor not only the memory of Mr. Antonio M. Bruni, but also the legacy of his life: service to others, hard work, civic leadership, philanthropy, and importance of family and faith. We ask God to inspire all of those who will pass by this display: students, parents, visitors, faculty, and administration, to pause and reflect on their own lives and see how their gifts and talents could be made and put to use to make this a better community for everyone, and also to get involved and not be bystanders. A special prayer and blessing for all of Mr. Bruni's families and descendants that are here with us today. Thank you so much for sharing his life with us and following in his footsteps. We ask a special blessing for Laredo College as they expand their programs to meet the needs of the community and the students. We give thanks for the inspired efforts of the Lamar Bruni Regatta Trust and trustees to honor the legacy of its namesake, which has significantly influenced the lives of many in the areas of faith, education, health, and numerous social agencies. I have a little prayer here that I think really states the life of Antonio and Lamar Bruni Regatta, and I think this is what they might share with us today. God, creator of all, help us to recognize that each of us has abilities and each of us has limitations. And yet, we all have a part to play in bringing about your kingdom. You love each of us profoundly. And in the spirit of gratitude and solidarity, we ask you to increase our awareness of both the gifts and the needs of those around us. Please open our hearts, minds, and doors to the gifts of every single person. Help us to become truly welcoming communities where everyone can find a place at your table. We ask this in your loving name. Amen.
Thank you, sister. I would be remiss. See, my better judgment said, this is pretty personal, but that's okay. I would be remiss if I didn't look over at Joe and Mr. Burrow and say, we really do need to give thanks this Thanksgiving for the Lamar Bruni Regatta Trust. Joe's been with it a long time, and Solomon Casson was with it for a while, and Mr. Burrow and Ms. Burrow are with it again now, and so many things would not have been possible on this campus and the South Campus, the whole community, without the help of the Lamar Bruni Regatta Foundation. One time I was put on the spot and they asked me to go before the board. I think it's when our new president, Dr. Solis, had just come in. And he said, I want you to go talk to him about who's given a lot. I said, well, you know, there is somebody at the top of the list. And I said, so if I may say that, then we're cool. But if you're going to censor me, I think I have to decline your invitation. But I think we all know one integral part of the success of the college has been due to people like Mr. Pearl and Mr. Martin, because there are some things that, as you all know, we simply cannot do without the assistance of outside help. So with that, we will move on to our next person on the program, who is our Presidente of the Board, Lupita Cepeda. Lupita.
Thank you, Millie, and good morning, everyone. As President of the Board of Trustees for Laredo College, it is my distinct pleasure to officially welcome you, and especially the Bruni family, to the Harold R. Yeary Library at the historic Fort McIntosh campus. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Laredo College, please accept our heartfelt gratitude for the opportunity to pay homage to Antonio Mateo Bruni for his lifetime achievements and contributions to the Laredo community. What a privilege to have been entrusted with safeguarding these family depictions of Antonio Mateo Bruni's life and legacy, and to share with our college community for years to come. Thank you for being with us today.
I think I've become far too familiar because I failed to introduce two of our board members that you know that it would not be possible to do many of the things we do, and of course our president, without the help of the people who kind of stir the pot and make the rules and get us out there and earn us money and do all those good things. So to them, a very special thank you. And Dana, of course, who keeps everyone in line. Yes? All right, it gives me pleasure now to announce that Dr. Maricela Rodriguez Tijerina will make some comments.
Good morning, Laredo College. It is truly an honor to be here to celebrate Antonio Mateo's Bruni's legacy. I truly want to thank the Lamar Bruni Vergara Foundation, Mr. Martin, Mr. Pearl. Y'all are amazing people who keep the tradition and legacy going, and we truly, everything Mrs. Slaughter and Ms. Cepeda have stated, we sincerely thank you for all your efforts that you continue to do, because it definitely impacts Laredo College, more than anything, the students who do need the support. And I do want to thank Ms. Cepeda, Mr. Delgado, Ms. Manes, and Mr. Mercurio Martinez, who are here with us today. So again, Laredo College has obtained the honor to house Antonio Mateo Bruni's significant artifacts and the kiosk to depict his life. These heirlooms have remained in the Bruni and Martin family for decades. Now our institution has been entrusted with these extraordinary pieces for generations to enjoy. Mr. Bruni has left a legacy that will remain for decades. The Lamar Bruni Vergara Trust has been a staunch supporter for Laredo College and the community. The institution appreciates the continuous support and generosity which has enabled many Laredoans to achieve their goals and dreams throughout quality education. Countless lives have been transformed due to the immense support our college and our students have received from the Lamar Bruni Vergara Trust. Laredo College Board of Trustees and administration are honored and has opened its doors for the whole Bruni and Martin family, because you also form part of this fantastic family for the Laredo College family. Without all of you, most of this would not have been possible. So again, I sincerely thank you for your contributions.
Thank you, Maricela. I think that Maricela's right. It just doesn't happen by itself. It happens when all the factors and factions work together to make it happen. And so we are inordinately lucky to have those people. And I have something to share with you guys, Jerry and Paul. I was in Brownsville recently, and somebody came up to me, a civic leader, and he said, "Who is the Lamar Bruni Dada Foundation, and how can we get them?" I said, "You cannot," because she did not live in Brownsville, she lived in Laredo. So hands off. And I failed to mention that Cynthia's here, and so we're glad to see her. I like the ad you do. Very nice. Okay, without further ado, we would like to introduce the keynote speaker, a person that I am extremely fond of and admire greatly, and his wife, Jim Pearl, and he will give you some comments this morning. Mr. Pearl?
Thank you, Millie. If you don't hear me, tell me, or if I'm too loud, tell me, because I'm hard of hearing and I never know how I communicate. I prepared a page or 2.5 pages of notes about Mr. Bruni, but most of that's been covered. I will reach back for a couple of matters out of that. But thank you all for being here, and thank you for honoring Mr. Bruni. I think it's something that's well deserved. Here's a guy that, as a teenager, walked across Italy in the mountains to the west coast, not enough money to get any kind of transportation, all on foot, and probably didn't really have a whole lot to eat while he was doing it. And he was determined to come to the United States, and so he went to get passage, actually from whatever port it was there on eastern coast of Italy, to Marseille, France, and then to the United States. And the way he got passage was, he got a job on both ships. and he made it to New Orleans, and as has been indicated, went to San Antonio, where he had an uncle that took him under wing to a certain extent. And he was still only about 17 or 18 years old when that happened. He didn't have any good resources, any family to back up and give him money to start a business or anything. And he worked for his uncle for a while, and then came to Laredo, purportedly with his brother Luigi, but I understand actually he got started and Luigi came later. And he had the store, the mercantile, which was his start. But he did get interested in agricultural type things, and he was very fortunate through hard work and savings to accumulate a tremendous amount of land, as indicated, over 200,000 acres when he died. I understand that at the time he died, he had about 50 cowboys working for him, or vaqueros as they call them. And he had a large number of horses and a large number of cattle and even a bunch of donkeys. And he would go every day to look at one part of his ranch lands or another. And he had a driver, and he went in an open car. And they would go from one part of the ranch to another and back home, and a different part of the ranch, and then back home. And it's my understanding that he could go from Bruni, Texas to the Rio Grande River and never leave his own land. That was amazing. And when he died, he had this great wealth. But in truth and in fact, although he had it then, the greatest wealth lay in the natural resources of the land. It gave his family great wealth. And after his death, those natural resources were combined into the Bruni Mineral Trust. And the family has used that trust for great support of themselves and their families through the years. And I understand that today there's still in excess of 100 beneficiaries of the Bruni Mineral Trust. One of those was Mrs. Vergara, Lamar Bruni Vergara. And she was a benefactress, not necessarily a great business person because, and by the way, I was around at this time. When she died, she had over $1 million in her checking account, which was not collecting any interest. Not the way I would have managed my money, but that was Ms. Vergara. And she didn't have, well, she left some of her property to some of her relatives. But the bulk of her estate, she said in her will, she wanted Mr. Joe Martin, Jr., and Judge Solomon Cassatt, my predecessor, to take that property and use it for the benefit of Webb County and the local area. And Mr. Martin and Judge Cassatt created the Lamar Bruni Vergara Trust. And I'll take a little bit of credit because I, as a lawyer working for Judge Cassatt, I was involved in making the trust. And it's a very general trust. It left that estate for the benefit of the community here. Mr. Martin, Joe Martin, my co-trustee, and I have developed a little bit of a different philosophy from what Mr. Martin Jr. and Judge Cassatt had. We have sought to establish the property of the trust in a way that it will be self-perpetuating and has been for at least the last 10 years. And through the management of the property and funds, we're able to donate to various causes in Laredo and Webb County and surrounding areas. over $100 million in the last, well, in the term of the trust. And we generally, right now, based on the size of the estate, are able to give $3.5 or so million per year in various things. Laredo College has had an advantage in that. At the time that I became a co-trustee, they were not receiving any funds. But because of our desire to help people learn to do work to earn a reasonable living, not just get a college, necessarily to get a college education, but to learn skills from which they could work. I've got to say, we're extremely proud of the nursing program. Mr. Joe Martin tells me every time he goes in for some kind of medical treatment in Laredo, he asks, "Where'd you get your training?" And most of the time, they'll tell him it was at Laredo College and that they got some benefit from the Lamar Bruni Vergara Trust. And that makes me feel so good. We've helped someone be in a position to earn a living. Academically, we also give scholarships, but this is primarily through Tammy Yeary. And I'm very proud of them too. They do an excellent job. They have their nursing program and their academics and are able to give both undergraduate degrees and graduate degrees. We give Tammy Yeary about $1,250,000 a year for scholarships and other projects there. We've got a lot of other projects too. We give to Casa Muscardia there. The trust built the building, if I'm not correct. That was before my time. We support community outreach programs, medical training. The University of Texas Health Science Center has a dental clinic here, which from my very limited observation does a fantastic job for people who have unique problems and could not afford to have them treated without the benefit of the Lamar Bruni Vergara Trust and the University of Texas Health Science Center. In other words, I'm telling you that that legacy of Mr. Bruni passing to Lamar Bruni Vergara has contributed significantly to the benefit of Laredo and Webb County, and hopefully will continue to generate such benefits throughout perpetuity. It is Mr. Martin's concept in mind. We work very hard to try to make this a perpetuating trust. So thank y'all for being here today. Thank Laredo College for its efforts and work. My God, the vocational training here, I am so proud of that. I can recall one guy that Suzanne told me about. He came here to go to college and he ended up taking a truck driver, commercial truck driver training program at the beginning of I'll say, the oil boom down here. And he was making about $18,000 a year at his prior job. After he graduated, this guy made $60,000 as a truck driver because of his training here at Laredo College. I think that's just an amazing story. And I don't, Suzanne, where are you? I'm not focused right now. Suzanne can tell you many of these stories. Oh, I've got to mention one other program that I truly love. With the 2 school districts here, we have a literacy program. It is directed to 1st and 2nd graders. It is a program where they get a tutor, which is paid through trust funds. That's normally a college kid supplementing their living. and they get individual training twice a week from these kids. Our goal is to be able to look at some point in time and say, these kids who would have dropped out in the 7th or 8th grade because they didn't have what it took to go forward have actually graduated from high school, maybe even come to college here. But I'm extremely proud of that literacy program. Again, something that would not have been possible probably except for Mr. Bruni and his granddaughter, Lamar Bruni Vergara. Thank you all for listening to me. I'm sorry everyone told my historic speech about Mr. Bruni and his growing up. Yes, thank you, Billy. I think you took my entire speech. But at any rate, it's nice talking to you all. Thank you for being with us.
Mr. Pearl, don't you know you're supposed to give me the cheat sheet before so that I won't talk about something you want to? No, that is wonderful. And, you know, we have so many. I know Dana knows it. And you all know it too. And of course, the faculty and staff and administration of the college knows we have had so many success stories. And those stories would not have been possible without the benevolent help of the Lamar Bruni Vergara Trust. And I had the task when when the college at the South was just a gleam in the eye, you know, in the beginning. And the nursing building was coming off the docket and things were happening. And Dr. Solis was brand new. He had just come in as president. And so I said, I want to come address the board. I don't think you were there yet. Remember, no? Anyway, and he looked at me like, oh my God, what is this woman going to do? And I said, I need to talk to him. And so we can do it, you know, after or before, whatever. So one of the things I wanted to do is secure the namings at the South for the people like Lamar Bruni Vergara and the Trust, who have always, never failed to help us when we need it. I remember one time, I don't know if Joe remembers this, I went to him and I said, okay, the meeting is over, right? And he said, yes. That's before Suzanne, I think, or maybe you were already there. And so I said, I need to ask you for some assistance in an area other than what you normally do. And he looked at me suspiciously. He said, what? And so I said, well, our honors program, which is integral to the college because we must always offer that to those students who are so bright and wonderful, is in need of a little shot in the arm. And so he said, okay, well tell us. So I did, and they did. And so that got us over the month for a couple of years, I must say. And we thank you very much for always being there for us when we needed it. So it's been my experience, I love it because I'm old so I can say this, it's been my experience that donors like the Lamar Bruni Vergara Trust are few and far between. As you all know, I was a native of Brownsville and there were like 3 families there who were like the Lamar Bruni Vergara Trust. And when something was needed, you know, they always came for us. And you can see the testimony to their name when you look around at all the wonderful things. So I think the same is apropos here. I know Sister knows. And so we thank you from the bottom of our hearts because a lot of the things we do simply, Mercurio Kelly, both for this, would not be possible from public monies. And so therefore, the private donor factor is extraordinarily important to any institution. But to us, it has been integral. And Joe, I remember your daddy at the environmental center, but I won't tattle, okay? And so he and Judge Casa, and then shortly afterwards, all kinds of things that were said. And so, except that I always have to look back and say, so many people young, usually, but not always young, have been made wiser and smarter and more tolerant of our environment and our animal life and the planet because of that. And certainly that is not the only thing that you all have facilitated. So I am going to do a very strange thing, don't panic. Are there any questions that you all have? No? You can ask Joe if you want to. You can tell I've known him a long time. With that, I would like to thank you all and wish you well and wish you a happy Thanksgiving and a very Merry Christmas. But above all, know that the people at Laredo College are extremely grateful for everything you have seen and done for us and continue to do. So thank you very much. I retired from my job, but they elected me president of the foundation. Oh, so now
One more. Antonio Mateo Bruni's wife, Consolacion Henry de Bruni, she was a great-granddaughter of Patrick Henry, the voice of the American Revolution. And through Patrick Henry and all the founding fathers of this country, they all descended from European royalty and nobility. Mr. Martin, in appreciation for this benevolent gift, I'm going to prepare for you the royal and noble genealogy of Consolacion Henry de Bruni, her descent from King John of England, and 20 of the 25 Magna Carta surety barons.
Well, we should make room for that.